Hello again. This is SF Giants fan Mike coming to you today with another video. This time, not a Dokkan Battle video. Um, Today, as you can see, my focus is on the Fate Zero, Fate Stay Nights animes that are on Netflix. Um, I just recently learned of this series this week, and honestly, I ran through it all week and all weekend, watching all the episodes. And this is kind of just a I don't know if you want to call it a reaction, a thoughts. I'll just call it a reaction video. Something I've watched and I really liked. I'm not really going to try to get into the review parts. I'm going to get to what I liked, what I didn't like, just a little bit. All right, guys. In case you guys don't know what the Fate series is, these are two animes. The specific animes I watched, because there's been multiple iterations, is the Fate Zero anime that was produced in 2012. At least that's what the copyright was on for the one that's on Netflix. And the Fate Stay Night Unlimited Blade Works that is copyrighted 2015. Again, both of those are on Netflix. In case you don't know the Fate series, what the basic setup is, how do I explain it? Okay, basic setup is this. There is a battle royale that's going to go on over the Holy Grail. We all know what the Holy Grail is, right? It's pop culture by now. Um, in this world, it is said to be able to grant wishes. So what happens is there's going to be a battle royale every so often. I think here in the Fate Zero was the fourth in human history. So it depends. Like between Fate Zero and Fate Stay Night, there's a 10-year gap. It's basically the same story, but two different animes covering four seasons, etc., so on and so forth. But every so often it happens. Like the one that happened previous to Fate Zero was in the 1930s, so it'd been about 60 years, and I'm not sure about the two before that. So every so often, this battle royale has to happen. What happens is that when the battle royale is starting to come up, when the Holy Grail War is about to happen, the Holy Grail selects seven masters that are going to have seven servants, or I should say, each have a servant. They summon each of these masters it chooses. I won't even go into who it chooses or why or whatever. They get to summon a legendary hero, hero from history or mythology or whatever. Um, just as an example, in my opinion, the main character of these two series is Saber here. The one holding the sword right here. She, as you come to find out, is actually King Arthur. In actually Fate Stay Night, she never actually mentions that she's King Arthur for in-story plot reasons. But this Emiya guy over here, I can't pronunciate his first name worth nothing, so I'm just gonna go with Emiya. Shiro, his son, I can pronunciate that, but Kitty over here I can't, and it's better to call him Emiya than Kitty. But anyway, he's the main character. He's also the main protagonist of the first one. He summons King Arthur kind of on purpose. If you want to watch the series, they do a better job than I ever will explaining what's going on. Just a warning, if you've never come across this, the first episode of each series kind of gives you exposition. It's an exposition dump, and it introduces you to the characters. It gets kind of dry, but they explain things very well if you're paying attention. First time I tried to watch the series a couple years ago, and then I kind of forgot about it. It was just so dry. I was like, okay, I'm done. I gave you guys your 20 minutes or 15, 20 minutes. I'm done. And of course, if I'd have waited for 40 minutes, it would have gotten really good. But anyway, guys, so that's the basic setup. There's a battle royale. The Holy Grail selects seven masters. Each of these seven masters gets to summon a legendary hero. And then they duke it out. It's not like they come to it's not like the Hunger Games or Battle Royale, where you come to one field and they're all there. Well, technically, I guess they do. They go to a city, hopefully I don't get a Kai trying to say the name. I'll just call it F City. Um, just because I feel I'm very close to pronunciating it in a way language. But they go to this F City in Japan, and that's where everybody is, and they all kind of duke it out there. Usually it's only one, like two people going at it at a time. Usually it's not a like 10, like all seven of the people getting into one area and all fighting it out. Usually doesn't work that way. Because if you've watched the Hunger Games or whatever, you know there's strategies involved, and generally, oh, excuse me, and generally running headlong into a problem like that is generally not the way to survive to the end, even if you have the strongest servants. In this case, servants or fighters in general. Okay, so what did I love about this series? Okay, like I said, there's 7 masters and there's 7 servants for each. Actually, there. I'll let you guys figure out the exceptions to that by watching the series, guys. What I loved is that it's so easy for a show to kind of give shaft to several of the people it's trying to cover. I'm a Dragon Ball guy. If you see my videos on I have on my channel, I do a lot of Dragon Ball Z Dokkan Battle. So obviously I watch a lot of Dragon Ball Z, etc. So it's very easy to give the shaft. And Dragon Ball Super right now is in a tournament arc where there was 8 universes. Out of those 8 universes, outside of the one that we know, only really 3 others kind of get touched on, but only one of those do you really kind of get to know, and that's because they had an arc earlier in the series. And you kind of get to know those guys, but everybody else just gets light brushes. So you never really get attached to the 7 other universes. In this case, you have a main character, Emiya, with Saber as his servant, and then there's his wife. I totally don't know how to pronunciate her name. Anyway, they're kind of the main characters. Really, in my opinion, Saber's the main character. I think I've said that already on this video. I've already done like 3 or 4 takes, so forgive me if I start mixing them up. They're kind of the main characters, but they don't get all the spotlight. In fact, I would say this is an ensemble anime. Kind of like the Avengers, they have all these main characters. They all kind of get good screen time, so you get to know those characters. And like specifically with the Avengers movie, you kind of got to know Loki too. So the bad guy. So in a battle royale situation, everybody's your enemy. So with Saber, all these other servants are the bad guys, but you get to know some of them, most of them, pretty well, and you're like, like the first season. All right, let me explain it this way. In the first season of both shows, you really get to know these characters, all of them, good guys, bad guys, etc. In the back of your mind, much like with the Tournament of Power in Dragon Ball Z, all but one got to go. So bad stuff is eventually going to happen, but they do such a good job of narrow escapes and this, that, the other. They do a great job of building tension, I guess is what I want to say. You don't say, hey, there's the clear winner. Here's the clear winner. Because, Saber gets in some fights where even though she is one of the strongest characters in the show, she gets into some situations where she's like, she might not make it. And they do a good job of that. Plus, they make you care about her enemies. So you're not like, hey, I just want that guy to die in a fire. Although there's a couple characters like that for me, but that's just good villainy. So again, they just do a really good job of that in both the first and the second seasons. There's going to be tension. The first season, you're going to probably get to know the characters. There's going to be some good battles to get you interested. And then in the second season's when people start to fall. But they do a good job of, in both series, in Fate Zero and Fate Stay Night, of building up to these moments. Everybody pretty much gets a send off. Everybody pretty much gets built up. You get to know them all. So, I mean, obviously, there's a couple really evil guys in here. So you're not really sad to see them go, but you're at least you were invested in that character and you wanted them to go. Versus, in Dragon Ball Super, a couple weeks ago they knocked out Universe 3. I wasn't invested enough in Universe 3 to care whether they stayed or goed. I just kind of needed to see him go so we can get to the finale, which is, Universe 7 versus 11 and Jiren versus Goku and Vegeta and all that fun stuff that we've been hyping up for 6-8 months now. So here, what are some other things I really like? I like the characters. They do, like I said, I like the characters. Some of them are one note, but they're one note for that reason. Like I said, there's evil characters and they're evil because they're evil. Like with Saber, you get all her nuances. With Emiya here, you kind of get to see that he's got a noble goal. He is the Punisher of this universe. I think I said that in a previous video. He's the Punisher of this universe. He kills bad mages. He's actually sent by the association, and he goes and he assassinates bad mages for a living. But to do so, sometimes he does really bad things that you just will not agree with. I remember watching, I want to say it was season 2. He did this really, 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 really underhanded and bad thing, and I really was not liking him. Then you know what they did? They went and they covered his backstory. So you kind of get to see where he was coming from. And you understood why he did it. I still don't like what he did. I really don't like what he did. I really hate what he did. Because even though the person he ended up killing was a jerk and I didn't like him, but he'd already been broken, he'd already been defeated and all this other stuff. And I wanted to see him and his wife, and they had a good relationship. And I wanted to see more than that. And I wanted to see him survive. And he cold-bloodedly, but logically, that's the one thing I have to say. It was very logical that he would do this. But when you're thinking with your emotions, like I tend to do, you're like, no, you can't do that. That's just cold-blooded murder. And it is. But it's logical. And they will explain it. So, okay, what are some other things I like about this? First of all, there's great action scenes. I want to say it's the first fight between Saber and Lancer in Fate Zero here. You get to see one of the best fights you will ever see in anime. It's made a few top fights lists, and I see why now that I've seen the whole thing. In all the fights, there's it's not just kind of like with Dragon Ball, they kind of get together and they just fight. You actually get to see the counterplay. They actually will put you in the fighters' heads and show you the counterplay. And the best part of that is that first fight between Saber and Lancer in Fate Zero. That first fight, there's a lot of counterplay going on, and you hear and you listen in and you hear their thoughts and how they're trying to set up their opponents and this and that and the other. It's great. You get to hear it, you get to see it. And it's not just, hey, Saber is more powerful than this person, so he should win. They kind of, they're still using tactics. In theory, the United States has been like the greatest military ever, but we can't just walk into a fight and expect to win. We kind of find that out in Vietnam, if you know your history. In Vietnam, we kind of went in there. We're the big bad, we're the big bad U.S. We're going to win. And, I forget if it's North or South, but whoever it was, they figured out, they used guerrilla tactics and they were able to beat us. Plain and flat out, they beat us. There's a lot of that in here. All right, what are some other things I like about this series? All right. Keep in mind, I came from watching High School of the Dead was the anime I watched directly before this. And if you know High School of the Dead, they have jiggle physics. They're trying to copy and one up the jiggle physics from Dead or Alive or DOA it's Dead or Alive. the fighting game series. If you don't know what either one of those are, if you know what High School of the Dead is, but don't know what DOA is, you know what the Jiggle Physics, you know what that fighting game series is known for, right? When I mentioned Jiggle Physics, literally DOA was the first one that patented Jiggle Physics. And if you know what DOA is but don't know what High School of the Dead is, you know what is going on in High School of the Dead. Basically, there's a lot of fan service. The girls are all drawn. I want to say typical anime. It's really typical anime. They're all big, busted. They're all built like, I won't even say supermodels. They're like they go even, to steal Goku's line, they go even further beyond, what supermodels would be. And then they like to do shots where, they do panty shots and upskirts and this, that, the other. So I guess that's why I kind of appreciated Fate Zero and Fate Stay Night, is that while they have incredibly attractive females and male characters, and there is a little bit of fan service in there, it's only a little bit. They're not over the top with it. They're not trying to get you, honestly, on several shots in High School of the Dead, they give you camel toe. It was so frustrating because High School of the Dead is a really good anime. It is almost ruined by all this fan service. I know it's kind of built in and it's part of the humor and all that, and honestly, it adds to a few of their action shots. But anyway, guys, that's what I really appreciated about this series. I could sit there and, you could kind of see Arturia there. She's not exactly super busty. She's a woman passing off as a man. She shouldn't have like a gigantic crack, right? But most, not all, most of the servants and the female characters are drawn more realistically. Now, one thing I did find as I was I won't say researching, as I was kind of looking up stuff on the series and whatnot, I actually found an interesting way this started. All right. So this has become a serious anime, a serious media empire. It seems like they're kind of coalescing to try to become, I won't say Naruto or Dragon Ball or One Piece or Bleach, but they're trying to become a mainstream anime series where you follow them from series to series to series, from season to season to season, based on the name. And it's really funny how this started out. All right, you remember how I said that they don't do the over the top fan service in the anime? I think I have it up here. Yes, you guys probably already see where I'm going with this. All right, so Fate Stay Night was the first started out as a visual novel back in 2004, as you can kind of see here. And you guys might already see the keyword. Back in 2014, that's where it started. And it started as I can't pronounce that word, Iraji. You guys could probably already see where that's going. Iraji visual novel. And I'm just going to go again, this is per Wikipedia, so they could be wrong. As this is a fan, anybody can get in there, but let's just take all of that out. Iraji pronounced Iroji, it's a whatever of erotic game, is a Japanese pornographic video game. So this series that as I was watching it, I really appreciated the fact that there wasn't over the top fan service. It started out as a pornographic video game. That's all the time I'm going to really put on that. But I find that hilarious. I came into this series, anyway, guys, you get the idea. It just kind of blew my mind that that's how it started. Oops, there we go again. Okay, guys. So how do I want to end this? I don't want to spoil too much of the individual events. Um, so I guess I do want to kind of go into how I feel the series ended up as. Okay, so I'm not going to go into the particulars, but there's 2 Holy Grail wars that go on. There's the first one you see end in the end of Fate Zero, but it doesn't really end. You see a bad event happen, and that continues into Fate Stay Night. In Fate Stay Night, you see some of the kids from the first series, Rin, Sakura, shoot, what is her daughter's name? I forget the name. I forget all the names right now, guys. I'm trying to do this in one shot so I don't have to edit too much. You see some of the kids, they become masters in this war. You see a repeat master, which was kind of weird. To tell you the truth, that he was a master in 2 different Holy Grail wars, that didn't make sense to me. Makes sense for the character though. So it was in character for this guy to do that. Very much in character. So I can't complain about that part. But you see the war continue on. Well, not continue on. A new war come around, 10 years later. You get to see the characters. You kind of got, how do you put it? You got teased with these characters, with Sakura, with Rin, even a little bit with Shiro, even though he's only in the last episode of Fate Zero. And again, Emiya's daughter, it's those guys' daughters. You get to see them become masters and interact, etc., so on and so forth. The one thing I do dislike, I will say here, is that they had a massive plot thread. 2, excuse me, guys, from Fate Zero to Fate Stay Night. One was Sakura. Sakura is actually Rin's sister. Again, that's not a really big spoiler. And it's only very lightly touched on in Fate Stay Night. Sakura, I think I said earlier, sustains an injury. Well, maybe it was an earlier recording, but she sustains an injury and she's pretty much out of the whole second season of Fate Stay Night. Kind of annoying. The other thing is that Emiya here had a daughter and an adopted son. The daughter with her. The daughter knew she had an adopted brother. The brother never knew he had an adopted sister. We never got a resolution to this plot line. It kind of got dangled. She mentioned something in season 1 of Fate Stay Night, but they never are able to really get back around to it. They are never really able to interact as brother and sister. And that's just one of those expectation. I forget the exact word you call it, but you had an expectation of these guys meeting as brother and sister, kind of, even if it's a short meeting or interaction or whatever you want to call it. And, well, I'll just call it this. They blue balled us on it. It was about to happen, and then it gets interrupted, and I'll just say things happen, and they're never able to have that interaction. Shiro, this guy's Emiya's adopted son, never gets to know for certain that he has a adopted sister, and they're never able to interact as adopted siblings. And that really kind of annoyed me. So the resolution, I really liked how it went. It really picked up with the second generation in Fate Stay Night. You get to see the two main characters, Rin and Shiro, and it's not really spoiler, but basically they become allies, and eventually by the end they're pretty much, I wouldn't say lovers, but they seem to be in a romantic relationship at the very least, or headed that way. I love how it kind of arcs throughout the whole thing. And I loved the resolution. They have an actual epilogue episode, and that's what this is why I'm making this whole thing, and it's probably going to be way too long for what this is, but I need to get it out. And if you guys want to talk with me about this, what you thought of the series or whatever, let me know. But I saw the epilogue and I kind of like where it ended. It didn't end up, hey, they're married. Hey, he goes on to become a firefighter or soldier or whatever, where he's out there, fighting the good fight. Just so you know, Shiro has this dream of becoming a hero of justice, and it's throughout the whole 2 seasons. And at the end of the epilogue, that's the way he's chosen to live his life, and whatnot. And there's major spoilers that I'm not going to even mention here. Those of you that have seen it know what that spoiler is, and I don't want to repeat it. But you see him, he chooses that line. And for once, Ren goes from pretty much the first time they meet in the series till then, she goes from kind of leading him, to him following her, or to her following him. I'm sorry, to kind of have that role reversal at the end where she's going to support him, where he's kind of been, in the epilogue, he actually becomes her apprentice, to learn magic and whatnot. But anyway, I loved where they left it. I wanted to see more. Honestly, I wouldn't have minded a slice of life anime following those two along the rest of their lives together. That's how well those characters resonated with me. I wanted to see more, even though I knew it couldn't be as action packed. Now, granted, where Shiro is going and where Ren is following, technically you could have some action in there, because he's going to be trying to save people. He's going to be trying to do this, do that, do the other. So you could definitely have your action-oriented episodes, but I would love a slice of life anime, and I don't really like slice of life animes because it's hard to get. For me, it's hard to get into the anime and get to know them without those kind of tensions. And after 2 series with Ren and 1 series with Shiro, I'm invested enough in those characters where I wouldn't mind if it's boring. I just love seeing them interact that much. Kind of like with Dragon Ball. With Dragon Ball Super, they had that baseball episode, which I think is one of the best ever in all of Dragon Ball. It's just a slice of life. They're having a baseball game. There's no real big fighting. It's comedic. It's just kind of a day in the life. But anyway, guys, I love where it ended up. I would love to see more of those specific characters, but for what I'm reading and what I'm seeing, I'm kind of at that point now that I spent a whole week. I think it was like last Sunday I started on the Fate Zero, and today I just finished up on Fate Stay Night, and I've spent a whole week, and I just realized one of the worst things you could ever realize, that I'm not going to get any more. Technically, there's more Fates universe stuff happening. I know, like I said, there's a Fates Apocrypha or something like that, that's going on, that I'm going to watch probably next week. But for Ren and Shiro and Saber's story, while they may pop up somewhere else occasionally, their story is now done, and I am okay with that. While I would love to see more, I love that it came to an end. And that's why I think I'm so nostalgic right now. At the end of Fate Zero here, it ended, but there was no resolution. You kind of come to miss all the people that fell along the way. You cry for, what happened to poor Emiya, and he kind of became a broken character by the end of it. You kind of sad where Saber is left off, Gilgamesh, etc. You kind of like, what's going to happen with this, but their story is not over yet. So now I come, today, the epilogue, it's done. You don't do an epilogue unless you're done. Obviously, being a Dragon Ball fan again, Dragon Ball Z had an epilogue, like a 3-episode epilogue, and now they're Super, but there wasn't plans for Dragon Ball Super. There wasn't. I think there was plans for Dragon Ball GT by the time those had aired, but excuse me, but it wasn't as Akira Toriyama centered as Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball Z, and Dragon Ball Super. Basically, it was coming to an end, but you still had openings to come back with that specific set of characters. With this, it feels like they ended it, and I don't think I'm going to see a story focused on Ren and Shiro ever again. So now I've come to, and all this is just to kind of say this, guys. I kind of went through this with, I don't know if you guys know what Wheel of Time is. It's a book series by Robert Jordan, fantasy series that spanned 14,000 page novels. It's a really long fantasy series, spanned like 20 odd years. Basically what Game of Thrones is trying to do right now. A lot of series, a lot of books, etc., so on and so forth to cover. And that eventually came to an end. And, you kind of come to the realization that since Robert Jordan passed away at one point, we're probably not going to get any more from these characters. Their story is done. We might get a story. They may eventually license it out to Brandon Sanderson, the guy that finished the last 3 books of that series, to come in and do stories from other parts of the lore. But most likely, that lore that we covered for those 14 books, Rand al'Thor, Paranabara, Matrim Cathan, Moraine, I forget her last name, Lan Mandragon, something like that. Anyway, we covered all these epic characters for so long, and it was such a big part of your life, and then it ends. And it's kind of funny that I was expecting, I don't know, I guess I just wasn't ready for Rin and Shiro's story to end. It's one of those things. I went through this whole thing. I binge watched it over the course of a week. I really binge watched this weekend, obviously. I think I watched the whole second season today. All 12, 13 episodes. I didn't kind of get to marinate in this series like I normally would. So it's kind of weird for me. I might go back in the next few weeks and just to rewatch it, see what I missed, and just kind of relive what they were going through. Kind of relive the story, I guess. But anyway, guys, that's it for my little thoughts, reactions, whatever, guys. It's kind of me just rambling, and I apologize for that. If there's anything you guys want to add, feel free to go to the comment sections. Let me know if you liked the series. Let me know what you liked about it. And if you're new to the series or even a veteran of the series, did you know where it started? That is one of those factoids for me that dropped my jaw, because I knew of the Fate series for a while now. I just had never gotten into it until I heard some really good reviews on it recently, and I was like, okay, I'll just force my way through the first episode and see what happens. And here I'm a week later lamenting that I only gave the series a week of my life to experience it. But anyway, give me your thoughts, give me your comments, what you thought of the series. If you can, leave me a like or a dislike or whatever. Any kind of interaction would be great. All right, guys, I'm going to end it there. This has been rambling. I think I've been rambling for like 30 minutes now. So I will talk to you guys later. All right, thanks.